Hi, this is Patricia Stepler, and you're here with Your Inside Power, where we help people to understand that they've got so much inside of them, and you have to go inside of you to unleash those powers and realize that you're not just a plaything for the outside world. So today I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Lynn Whitbeck, and she is the queen of sales. And Lynn is hired by businesses and entrepreneurs to help ignite winning sales teams. And because most are chasing down clients and they're stuck in this chaotic cycle and lacking client retention, conversions, and profits. So she helps transform thinking and prospects and end that sales chaos. So I'd like to welcome you to the show, Lynn.
Well, thank you so much, Patty. I'm really excited to be here. And I've just really...
Oh no, did we lose Lynn or did we lose me?
I'm not sure.
Okay, now I can hear you. Now you're there.
Okay.
That's always a great way to start, isn't it?
I know. It's just like the internet, has just not been my friend, I think, the last few days. So I apologize. It's sort of like, no matter how much you pay for that high-speed internet. But Patty, I'm really excited to be here. And thank you so much for having me. I have really enjoyed getting to know you over the last few months. And it's a real pleasure and honor.
Yes, I just had Lynn speaking on my summit the other day, and it was phenomenal. And you did such a great job and offered so much. But you know what? So this program is about your going inside of you and the powers that you have inside of you. And I'm sure you've consciously or unconsciously used them. So how do you get people to realize that in this chaotic world, we really need to take time to figure out who we are and what we really want and get that clarity, not only for ourselves personally, but as a business person?
Yeah, and there are, because your summit on the shiny objects, there are so many distractions. And I've got a couple of team members who are kind enough to join in today, and they will tell you that I can be very distracted by shiny objects. And, having that focus is very important. And one of the things to really get there is to take that time. We have to have that time for introspection and the time to actually think and consider and to stop for that moment. Take that powerful pause to say, does that fit my mission? Does it fit, me right here and now, or in the very short term? Or is this something that I can look at and revisit 3 months from now, 6 months from now?
Right.
Yeah. And so, it can be hard to do that, right? In that moment, one of the things that I do is that I will actually go out and take a walk. I'll just stop what I'm doing at work. And sometimes it can seem like, how can you even take a break? But you just give yourself that gift and that permission to take a break. And when I go out for a walk, a 15-minute walk, I really focus on my breathing, breathing the fresh air. And I'll look around at the plants, and maybe I might see a little rabbit scutter by. And doing that really puts you back in touch with other things out here in the world and our whole environment. And I let my mind wander. And not only do I come back to my workspace, in my office, far more energized and just refreshed, but it's cleared my mind. And often in those moments, I actually do get clarity on something that I was trying to figure out. And it's just the most powerful thing for that 15-minute break. And I really recommend that. And if you don't like going out and walking in nature, you can, do some other type of activity that you're doing that will help you refresh. It could be that you meditate. It could be that you decide to call your mom. I mean, it's whatever works for you.
Yeah, and you know, that's so good to remind people to take that time to go inside of themselves, because we get so busy and we get so caught up in the action, 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 action. And we have our to-do list of everything we need to do. And it can be really overwhelming. And sometimes, do you ever notice that that overwhelm actually slows people down?
Absolutely, because it causes that decision fatigue, right? And there are so many decisions that we make every single day. Anything that you can do to minimize that is going to help you out. And you know, from a business perspective, one of the things I highly recommend is that you know you organize you look at the processes and what you need to do. What are the systems? What are the things that need to happen? And then you create a pathway so that everyone on your team also knows how you're going to execute on it. And then you create templates that can be used over and over and over again. And now that doesn't mean that you've become some kind of robot, but you can customize the template, right? But when you create templates for all the common processes that you do, the simplest thing, I have templates for things that they literally have 4 sentences in them, but it means that I can open that Word doc, right? I copy and paste, put it into an email, I customize it, and I'm done. But I've actually spared my brain. It didn't have to think as hard because that was already, it actually took me less time. It was easier, it was faster. And also then I could think about the things that I did need to change, you know? And so those are really helpful things that you can do. And you may think, well, I have to figure that all out. The time that you spend to plan and to figure it out is going to pay off over and over and over again, right? When you think about it, when you invest in planning, you're actually investing in your own success, and you're investing in how much easier it's going to be and how much more confident and assured you're going to be, because you know exactly what you got, what you're going to do, and how you're going to do it.
Well, Lynn, how did you get started in your business? You know, what drove you to do, because you're very competent, obviously, and you have a lot of knowledge. But how'd you get started?
Well, if we go way back in the day, it's like, how far back do we want to go? I really started in sales selling Girl Scout cookies, you know,
Okay.
and I was in Girl Scouts, and there was this coveted badge that you could only get if you sold like a truckload of cookies. And I was determined to get that badge. And I hauled my friend, who was very shy and introspective, very reserved, around, and I came up with a system that she basically took the money and handed them the cookies, and I was out there pulling people into our table in front of the grocery store, right? Or I was the one talking when we went door to door to get the cookie sales. And I'll let you know that we were the only 2 girls in our entire district who got that coveted cookie badge. But it was fun for me, but it was also fun because I love those Girl Scout cookies. I still love those Girl Scout cookies. They're good cookies, right? And when you love the product or service that you are delivering, you have a passion for it, you know how it helps and serves others. And you may think, well, cookies don't really help or serve others, but you know, I was a kid, right? And cookies still make us smile, you know, they're that great snack. So when you do that and you have that, then that conveys in the communication that you have with people. They can hear and see the passion that you have, and that you're truly there to help and serve them. And so as I developed and I went into professional sales by chance, that was really what drove me, was that I knew that I could help and serve people. And if I could take one thing off their plate that they no longer had to think about, they didn't have to even contemplate what was going to happen on it, they knew I was going to handle it, I was giving them a gift, because that was something that was off their list and wouldn't get back on their list. It was off their list. And so that was really my passion for sales. And through sales, one of the greatest things that I discovered is that sales is leadership training. At its core, everything you need to know about being a great leader, you learn in sales. You have to deal with all kinds of different people. You have to deal with conflict, negotiation. You have to sell yourself and your ideas. right? Which you have to sell yourself and your ideas to get a new job, to get a promotion, to get your idea accepted by the board, right? There's so many things that you get from sales, for a leadership and then nurturing and developing those long-term relationships, a lifetime of relationships that are just phenomenal. We're human beings, that human to human connection. And so as we went through, and then I decided to start my own business, it was really bringing forward a number of different elements of that, the sales. I'm so passionate about sales and doing the sales, but also how sales helps your career and will really expand your career. Whether you work a day in sales or not, you guys, you're all selling. It could be selling what you're going to watch on Netflix with your partner or with your kids, getting your kids to do their homework, whatever it is, you are selling. All right. And then life, because, if you don't have the balance and you don't take that 15 minutes to go for a walk, to clear your mind, to refresh and to reground yourself and reconnect yourself to the earth, well, then you're not doing yourself any favors. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, from the loss that I've had in my family, nobody on their deathbed says, dang, if only I'd sold that other client, or only if I'd gotten that promotion, or if only I'd done this extra deal. Nobody says that. Nobody says that.
Yeah, and we have to remember relationships are the most important thing that we have, and to keep them going. And it is all about talking to people and developing those relationships, whether it's a friendship or whether it's, a child or, a spouse or partner or whatever, that's so important. So how do you relate all that to some of your clients that you have?
You pretty much get what you see. But, when I work with clients, I'm really all in. I want to make sure that I understand what they need, so it really comes down to, for everyone I work with, we start with client thinking. What do they want, need, or lack? Why does it matter? What's the problem it's going to solve? The concern that they will address, and then what they can do with that. How is that going to benefit them? So they can what? What's the big outcome? And not only do I approach my clients that way, but then with their business, that's what we're really looking at, because your client thinking is the most important foundational piece all the way through everything you do with your sales strategy, because your client thinking evolves and changes during the relationship and as your company grows and evolves. And so when we get really focused on that, it also allows us to not be distracted by the shiny objects playing off of your incredible summit, but to really remain that discipline and focus, because then we can take that moment, the powerful pause, and say, does that serve the client thinking? Does that serve the client? With one of my clients way back in the day, we had this thing as, would the client pay for this? Like if this was like an add-on that you would purchase, like you buy your Mac and then you buy the headphones and then you buy a microphone and then you buy yada, 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 right? Mm-hmm. Would they pay for this? But it was that really focusing in on that, because if it wasn't of value to the client, then why are you bolting it on? Unless it was for something that they wouldn't necessarily perceive as an efficiency, quality control, how well, how it made it simple and easy to use, right? So there's things like that, but then those are, of course, they are of value to the client and they would pay for that, right? So when you look at it, it's like, yeah, of course they're going to pay for that. Of course that matters to them. And so when you really get focused in on that, that is going to be where the magic happens. And then all of a sudden you can start working on everything else in that sales program and your strategy that you have, and how you can attract your clients and get them engaged and have them turn into the champions that you want them to be, where they're providing you with referrals for your business, because ultimately that's going to drive incredible profit and revenue.
So I'm looking at the chat here, Lynn. You've got a fan club here. As Lynn is super, super incredibly effective and power to boot. We love you. And nobody's met anybody like you that loves sales like you do. And, a lot of people shy away from sales. And, one of the things I look at when I'm working with people doing, shifting their mindset is shifting the image that they hold, that they don't see themselves, like you were saying earlier, they don't see themselves as a salesperson. And to really become effective as a salesperson, they have to start seeing themselves being successful and being able to, earn that money that they need in sales. And so how do you, when you find somebody that you can tell they're just not comfortable in sales, what kind of things do you do that maybe help them to build that image inside of them to become that salesperson?
Yeah. So regardless of what role you have, if you approach it with worthy intent, so you truly desire to help and serve others, you're curious about what's going on for them. And this applies to roles other than just being in sales. If you're running a business, if you're different roles within a career, in your family, in your personal life, when you approach things with worthy intent, that is the first piece, because that's the foundation, again, because you are that credible, trustworthy person that you truly do desire to help and serve them. And if you can't help or serve them, you're going to be straight and honest with them and direct them and be a resource as to where they can get the help and service they need. And so when you think about, it's not sales, it's actually you're there to help and serve them. And as a result of that, you will generate revenue because you're able to solve the concerns and problems that matter to them so they can achieve something incredible. So it's really about guiding someone through the process of rapport and building the relationship so they can make a decision. You're guiding them to a decision, and then you're guiding them through the process and nurturing them so that they can become their own individual champions, that they can be their very best self. And the biggest thing about sales is that there is that other sleazy, manipulative side of sales that we've all been exposed to. And certainly as women, we have been taken advantage of from that angle. And it gives you a really negative perception of sales and a really bad taste in your mouth about sales. But I want you to flip your switch. This is a mindset piece. You've got to look at this totally different. You're not selling someone. You are helping and serving someone with your product or service to achieve the outcome that they need. That's going to enable them to do whatever it happens to be. And so that, when you approach it from that and you start looking at it from that, then it's like you are creating impact. You are giving them the most valuable gift that they can change their life, their work, their business, their career, their entire, world, because of the impact that you can deliver to them, and that they in turn can then deliver to their clients. And then we're talking a ripple that becomes a wave, that becomes a tsunami.
Sometimes people the first person they have to sell is themselves. That, they don't have that belief that they are the answer to people, which is why they tend to go away from those sales. And so they have to have that belief in themselves and in what they're selling, that it is the thing that client needs. And sometimes that's difficult. I see that a lot with coaches. You can just tell. I remember hearing this one, person, he was trying to make a sale, and you could tell, he just kept looking down. He wouldn't even look at the people in the eyes because he didn't believe that what he had was the answer. And if you don't believe that what you have is the answer, nobody else is going to believe it.
Yeah. No, and I want to shout out to my incredible, incredible team, because they saw this early on and recognized the self-limiting beliefs and how it manifests itself in imposter syndrome. And they were the catalyst of putting together a free class that we provide on imposter syndrome, because it is something that many individuals, men or women, they don't see themselves as being able to, have the value. Though, why would somebody pay me this kind of money for what they're doing? And for entrepreneurs and coaches, But even small business owners, they can really struggle with this. And certainly as your business expands and grows, that can become something that really limits your ability to scale if you have these deep-seated barriers, and that you need to do the growth mindset work. So they put together, a phenomenal masterclass that we do that's free. So you can absolutely, if you think that's a struggle for you right now, you can go to our website, it's right there, and sign up. It's probably about, I think, maybe 20 total hours between the lessons and then the exercises, that I really recommend you to do that. It's really going to make a difference for you.
I was just talking to my accountability partner yesterday, and for months, maybe a year, I've been telling him he isn't charging enough. And because we both do this similar thing, and we work both are Procter Gallagher consultants, and my price was almost double his. And I've been telling him, you're selling yourself short, because he has great wealth of knowledge and great ability. And so he was on a call with another group that he's in just yesterday, and he's like, I finally got it. I finally realized I need to double my prices because I'm worth it. And, he is worth it. And the program that he's selling is worth it. And sometimes we don't see the value in ourselves and, all the knowledge that we've gained over the, years of work.
Yeah.
And, we sell ourselves short.
Yeah, there's an underlying fear, most likely, that's holding you back. And really doing that introspective work to recognize what that is and to work through that. And often that it can be also even associated with something that went on in your childhood. I mean, we get really deep here. And there are people who specialize in this type of work. We do not. If you want help with your sales strategy, we're the people to come to, and we can help you with, some basic great mindset work. But yes, it is, that's the type of thing that you do. You have to decide to take that first step so that you can recognize that there's something holding you back. And then the next step, like, I want to do something about it. And then do it.
Right.
And there's a lot of DIY out there that you can at least get your feet wet and start getting looking into. And then there's incredible coaches that are available to help you work through that. And, it will change, your world, because you're going to be able to do just that. Sit up straight, roll your shoulders back, and be ready for those conversations.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I was talking on my summit yesterday. When I ended, we talked about the science of getting rich and how it's all up here. And it's all starts with what's inside you and your belief in yourself and your confidence in yourself, and giving gratitude, and part of taking that walk like you do, that's partly your gratitude, and if we can be grateful for what we have and, grateful for what's about to come into our lives also is so important. And, you're such a giving person. And there's just more things here. Somebody says the lesson on the imposter syndrome was vital realization and confidence builder for me. So, those are things that you've given and they help people, but really developing that confidence is huge. How did you develop your own confidence? Because obviously to do what you're doing, you had to go inside and do a lot of work also.
Oh, I think one thing that really resonates with me is if anybody's seen Captain Marvel and how she, she spins out on her go-kart and she falls off the rope thing and she picks herself up and she just dusts herself off and she does it again. And because I've definitely taken those falls, bam, hard falls. And they sort of knock you for a loop. But I really think it's my parents gave me that ability to have the resilience to pick myself up, dust myself off, and go, okay, what worked? What didn't work? What could I refine or tweak? And I'm going to try again. And I want everybody to just take this moment right now and think about it. Do babies give up when they fall on their high knees when they're trying to crawl along the sofa? No, they get back up. When you're a child and you're learning to ride from a tricycle to a bike and you got the training wheels on, and the first time they take the training wheels off, do you fall? Do you skin your knees and your elbows? Me, my chin? Yeah, heck yes. Did I get back up on that bike? Oh yeah, I did. Maybe not that day, but I got back up on that bike because I knew what I was going to get from that bike, the freedom that I was going to have to be able to ride to see my friends, to go to the local park, to do all these things, right? So we're in that same spot as adults, but there's this, you just have to recognize, yeah, sometimes it's my first guest podcast. It was cringeworthy. It was so terrible. The first 15 minutes were just awful. Okay. And I finally started getting unnervous and then it was over because it was a 30-minute show. But the thing is, I didn't just quit. I just went, okay, that was really horrible, but I did get better towards the end. I can do better next time. This is a skill I have to learn. I think I'm pretty good at it now. I'm not great, but that's the thing. You just, okay, well, what worked? What didn't work? How can I be better next time? And you'll get there. And it's that resilience is the number one thing. It's a power skill to be able to just look at what did work. What did you gain out of it? What did you learn? What will you not do again? What will you change or refine? And when you can look at things that way, then the world just opens up for you. The opportunities open up for you because then you can leverage that falling off the bike and getting back on. So then you can ride to the neighborhood park with your friend.
And that's such a great illustration. Think of the child trying to walk or the riding the bike, because at that point, I think of that little child, when they fall the first time, do we as parents say, okay, don't try that again, it's too risky? Yeah. No, we encourage them. But somewhere along the line, we get this idea that we have to be careful and not take those risks. And yet, if we don't get out of our comfort zone and move forward, then, we're going to have real problems, because where you are today is all the further you're going to get if you don't step out and try something different.
Yeah. And it's not like you have to take a big leap. You can take a baby step. Okay. You can take a baby step to try something. And then with each of those steps, you're stretching your comfort zone. And I just want to really hit that hard, people. You don't have to take a big giant leap. Don't go so far that it's just so hard for you. There are all kinds of ways to take baby steps. And if you take enough baby steps, all of a sudden you've taken a giant leap.
Well, Lynn, we just have a couple minutes left in this recorded section here. And I just want you, I heard news that you're going to be part of the Win-Win Women TV. And so I wanted you to just share a little bit about your show and when you're going to have it, and then maybe how people can get in contact with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the new show is called Get More Clients, and we will be talking sales strategy every week. So that's what we're going to talk about, and really how to, convert, close, and your clients and build more profits in your business and how to scale. So every week we're just going to be talking about that. It'll be a lot of fun. And the way to get a hold of me, you can go to my website, petite2queen.com. And I'm the only Lynn Whitbeck on LinkedIn. So it's pretty easy to find me there as well.
And what time is your show?
My show is going to be on at 8 a.m. Pacific on Wednesdays. And right now our target launch date is June 1st. And, me and my team are doing a whole bunch of work of planning to get everything ready to go.
Okay, that sounds awesome. And I want to thank you for being part of your Inside Power show today. and being such a wonderful guest.
Oh, thank you, Patty. It was a pleasure. And I really appreciate the honor of being and the privilege of being on your show.
Oh, thank you.